evening, everybody. I'm going to talk about environmental influences on crime trends and patterns. The first thing we're going to talk about is social media. Social media has many impacts on not only the apprehension of offenders, but it also creates new areas for the criminals to cover when committing a crime. The news media gives glorification to the offender, which will not only please the offender, but it will also make other individuals want to commit a similar crime. One example would be the Columbine shooting. The news media glorified this crime, and others have followed in the footsteps of the two teens in their own way. There has been a new crime that has emerged called cybercrime. Cybercrime has not only changed the way offenders commit crime, but it has also forced police officers to create new strategies for apprehending the subjects. The apprehension of offenders can happen with the help of social media. Social media has created a new outlet for offenders to commit their crimes, but it also helps them find targets as well as an outlet for selling illegal objects and substances such as drugs and even people. But in turn, this also helps police apprehend them because they can pose as a potential buyer and be pretty much undetectable to the offender with false information given. Cybercrime has costed over $450 billion in 2016, and it is estimated to increase to $6 trillion annually by 2021. Another important environmental influence is family structure. The family structure of the child is important when determining how the child will end up later in life. The family structure builds the respect for authority, and when there is a poor family structure, then the child will end up having a negative view on police, which will then create problems in the future. With negative police views, the individual will be in trouble with the law and authority, which may create issues with relationships and jobs later on down the road. The family structure helps build morals and values in the family. This ultimately impacts the child by teaching them right from wrong. It will help the child in the future with difficult decisions and challenges. The family structure also helps create a good work ethic and encourages furthering the education of the child. The most important part when encouraging education is the family involvement and positive feedback from the family. Another important influence is education. The education of a person is vital when trying to better their life. A higher education creates a more successful path for the individual and will deter them from a life of crime. There are differences in the education available for those of different economic statuses, however. One example would be those with lower economic status will get a different education than those of a higher status. The higher status individuals get the opportunity to get a better education because they can afford the resources, whereas an individual of a lower economic status may not be able to afford the resources and therefore get a lower, less desirable education. The availability of some education is limited due to the economic statuses. Typically, crimes occur within the lower educated population because they can't get the resources that they need, so they find an alternate way of obtaining them than what is commonly wanted or viewed as acceptable by society. Williams and Moronga stated, 1 in 5 kids will not graduate on time with their peers. Another important influence is the economic status of an individual. When looking at the economic status and the role it plays in crime, the biggest difference is how the crime is dealt with. For example, someone of a higher economic status may get a slap on the wrist for a crime, whereas a person of a lower economic status may get prison time for the same crime. Many feel like the higher status individuals buy their way out of trouble. Another noticeable difference is the fact that the resources availability between statuses is different. Those of lower status won't receive the same resources as those of a higher status. There are programs that help these situations, such as the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and it is estimated that over 15 million children live in poverty. The social structure theory supports this idea. The social structure theory, also known as the strain theory, states that crime happens as a result of society. Siegel states, strain theorists view crime as a direct result of frustration and anger among the lower socioeconomic classes. This also means that the education availability is different among the statuses. We can, however, improve these influences by decreasing the criminal activity, and one improvement that can be made is to reduce the impact of social media. We can do this by avoiding publishing stories that glorify wrongdoing and create safer social media that prevents hacking and other cyber crimes. Another improvement is we encourage family structure building by creating programs that promote the family building. One example is the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. We can also improve the education system by allowing those of lower statuses being able to receive the same resources as those of a higher status. We can also improve the economic status differences by encouraging the treatment of different statuses the same and encourage helping the lower status individuals more and allowing them to receive the same resources as those of a higher economic status.